Hi there everyone, your Power Al here with another vlog. So I'm not really someone that listens to podcasts often, but I started one that is very recent, and I really wanted to talk about that. In terms of podcasts that I've listened to, I've really only listened to two. One of them was one from 2017, maybe 2018, called Ballet Mécanique, which is I don't think it's on the internet anymore. It might be gone since the website that was hosting it I don't think is around anymore. But it was a podcast talking about Eureka 7, which really good anime by the way. Um, yeah. And then the other one that I've listened to is the Disc Only podcast, which uh, members of the TRG community, four of them actually, they talked about all sorts of things. Every now and then there would be a guest. Very fun podcast. So, uh, yeah. So the podcast that I started listening to is called Alive with Steve Burns. Steve Burns is the first host of Blues Clues, and this is kind of generalizing the podcast because right now, I mean, I guess there's only 3 episodes out, but it is essentially Blues Clues for adults, where Steve he he talks to us similarly to how he did in Blues Clues, and he's covering very um, adult topics, I guess, or topics to help navigate through adulthood. And when I was younger, I really, really liked Blues Clues, and I didn't really watch much after Steve left. It was really cool. In the first episode with the third host, Josh, how they brought back both Steve and Joe. Really, really cool. And then I think Steve even had like a post on social media where he's like, "Hey, it's been a while. How have you been?" and things like that. But the podcast I really, really enjoyed. I've only listened to the first 2 episodes so far, and I'm planning on listening to the third one, which is the most recent one at the time of recording. Probably after this, or maybe I'll listen to it tomorrow. But yeah, the first episode, ironically, in a podcast called Alive, uh, it tackles the subject of death, and it was a very interesting episode and very interesting thing to talk about, especially because I don't want to get too morbid or anything, but within like the past couple of years or so, I've been thinking about that concept a lot more than I have in the past. So just to see and hear like what Steve and the guests of that episode were talking about when it comes to that, it was really nice. Um, I don't know. It's just really interesting. And then the second episode, which I listened to earlier today, um, had Jamie Lee Curtis, and they were just talking about um, not giving a crap about things, about what other people think of you, and things like that. And I'm just really liking the podcast so far. Um, the end of each episode, at least these first two, has like a quiet reflection with footage from the cabin that Steve is doing the podcast in. Really nice scenery, nice little quiet moment of reflection, and yeah, really good podcast that I recommend to anyone. And I'm I'm gonna listen to it when I can. I'll try to keep up with it, and I don't know. It's just really nice. I mean, when I was younger, I definitely thought of Steve as a friend of sorts. So to kind of have that same energy coming from this podcast, it's I like it a lot. Anyways, I am going to end it off here. Maybe I'll listen to the third episode, or again, I'll maybe listen to it tomorrow. But it's it's definitely worth checking out. if you're into topics like that, or if you're just curious to see what Steve is up to. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna end off here. Thank you all so much for watching, and see you next time for another vlog. Later.